morning. Back to the idea of a peace deal and Blinken's overseas visit right now. What more are you hearing?
Hey, good morning, Marni. Well, at this hour, Secretary of State Antony Blinken remains in the Middle East, meeting with leaders in the region to talk about this ceasefire deal, the possible ceasefire deal. And just a short time ago, NewsNation actually learned some of the details tied to this possible plan. It would call for an immediate 6-week ceasefire and the release of all hostages. I think the estimate right now is that there's still several dozen hostages in Palestinian custody. But right now, there's growing pressure and a growing push to find a ceasefire to this conflict, with the Gaza Health Ministry recently estimating that over 31,000 Palestinians have died so far in this conflict. So if this deal gets reached, it's still unknown if Hamas and Israel would both agree to this plan. But again, it would call for a 6-week ceasefire and the release of all Israeli hostages, likely also in return for the release of some Palestinian prisoners being held in Israeli jails, Marni.
Tom, you touched on this a little bit, but can you expand on what is happening on Capitol Hill with Republicans and Democrats when it comes to Israel? Because it seems like there's a lot of finger pointing.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, classic D.C. style here. But we do know that House Speaker Mike Johnson recently spoke over the phone with Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. And probably the biggest message that the House Speaker shared with him is he wanted to show solidarity and support for Israel. And he even spoke about plans to possibly invite the Israeli Prime Minister here to D.C. on Capitol Hill to speak to a joint session of Congress, to speak to both the House and Senate. But look, this ongoing war has raised a lot of concerns with Democrats, specifically with that ongoing humanitarian crisis that we're seeing in Gaza. Benjamin Netanyahu's handling of the war. The Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer, in fact, turned a lot of heads recently when he accused Netanyahu of losing his way and also called for new elections. Right here on Capitol Hill just yesterday, both sides spoke about this. Take a listen.
It's dangerous for him to be trying to suggest how Israel should run its domestic affairs in the midst of their conflict. So you'll see the House Republicans continue to stand forward and reiterate our support for Israel at this very critical time.
I care deeply about Israel and its long-term future. When you make the issue partisan, you hurt the cause of helping Israel.
And Marni, to be clear, Congress has yet to pass any sizable legislation providing, billions of dollars in aid for Israel. There's been proposals out there, some of which have passed in one side but not the other. And now Republicans are, maybe potentially trying to put some more pressure on Democrats to get assistance passed for the Israeli military.
And Tom, real quick, what's the White House saying about all this?
Well, big concerns, at least for the White House right now, is the possible ground invasion of Rafah. That's in southern Gaza, and Israel's really targeted Rafah, saying that it's Hamas's last sort of stronghold in Gaza. And Benjamin Netanyahu has spoken about the need to invade, saying that Hamas won't be eliminated without a ground invasion of Rafah. But on the flip side of all this, the White House and President Joe Biden have raised a lot of concerns about this, because right now Rafah is home to over 1 million displaced Palestinians. So in the coming days, we're expecting a team of Israeli military and intelligence leaders to come here to D.C., including one of the defense ministers meeting at the Pentagon with the Secretary of Defense. So Israel really trying to ease some of the concerns with President Joe Biden and the White House team about those the possible ground invasion of Rafah, Marni.
All right, Tom Dempsey in Washington. Thank you, Tom. Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.